All right. Hi, Al. It's really good to see you and meet you in person. Let me get my timer going because I want to be mindful of everybody's time. Um, because we all have so much going on with this virus situation.
Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, I'm still busy even with all of this going on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, tell me about that. So, what's keeping you busy?
Really, it's all about pivoting at this point. I mean, our agency does primarily in-store tastings and trade shows, conventions, festivals, things like that. A lot of one-on-one interaction directly with buyers and with consumers.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, not only is it shut down across the country, our entire industry of promotions,
Right.
but also it's interacting directly with people face to face is kind of the most taboo thing in our society right now.
Yep.
So I'm doing a lot on my end right now to try to pivot as well as to keep our agency's brand and name out there.
Right.
In terms of pivoting, instead of doing face-to-face interactions, we're actually working with an influencer agency in Miami to offer some influencer marketing, some social media marketing, digital and virtual options for our clients.
Right.
And for our agency ourselves, I mean, we're just looking to try to cope with the changes that are going on. Like, for instance, yesterday I finalized an order for branded face masks. I'm working with a buddy of mine out in Lancaster to put together a little photo shoot with a model friend of his, so there'll be social distancing as well, where we would show all the safety features that we're going to have for our tasting people. We're also doing webinars and online happy hours every other week, just to really engage with our staff. Try to bring new talent in for when all of the social distancing restrictions are lifted.
So you're still recruiting, huh? That's good.
Oh yeah. Got to keep moving. As soon as the social distancing ends and is eased and whatnot, and people start getting out there and doing more, companies are going to be clamoring to get promotions going again. I mean, our team is just chomping at the bit just to get out there and just get back into doing the events.
I love the fact that you're saying that because, as you know, my company hosted and produced, as well as present at a virtual event that we did about 2 weeks ago. And the whole purpose behind our event or that event was to hopefully get people to see the light of not sitting here waiting. It just is mind-boggling for me to see that people are twirling their thumbs and they're not realizing the importance to be proactive. The one thing, I don't want to say is good, but the one thing that we're able to get out of this from our industry, and I want you in a few seconds, I want you to describe what you do for a living and a little bit about your business. But the one thing that I feel as though is being strongly viewed because of this virus is the huge benefit of the event industry for all these companies. I've been in this industry for about 30 years, and I can't explain to you how many times I've heard people when we are cold calling, oh, we don't need events, we don't do any events. Well, what kind of events are you thinking of in your mind when that question or that phone call or communication is presented before you? Are you thinking about trade shows? Are you thinking about galas? Well, events go so far beyond that. It can be a meeting. It can be brand awareness, which is what you specialize in, and that's your forte. It can be so many different things. And I think people have come to realize that today, because of the fact that we're all shut in and we're restricted to having that social interaction. So now people are starting to see the value of the event activities that they were doing for their business and the value that it holds for their business. Without it, you can't survive. So, to hear that you are engaging and pivoting and somehow you formed a way of getting the point across to your network of clients, and for them to be proactive and trying to figure out things, because we're not going to be shut into our homes forever. You know, at some point in time, some people are anticipating the fall next year, whatever the case may be. Now is the time for you to get booking. You know, get your hotel, get your suppliers, your vendors, such as yourself and my company. Book us now, because then they're going to be facing a whole new experience, and that is no availability. You know, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest challenge right now is just the absolute unknown as to when things will definitively reopen, and, you know, when it's safe to do events and when they'll be allowed. I mean, for instance, with our clients, it's like, you know, we've got multiple factors. For instance, the Lion Brewery out of Wilkes-Barre, PA, one of our largest clients, like they said, you know, no in-store tasting. So you've got the client factor.
Right.
You've got the chain store factor, or the individual account factor, who's like, you know, Total Wine was one of the first to say we're not doing in-store tastings. And then you have the government factor of saying, you know, non-essential businesses are closed, or, you know, there are restrictions being placed out there. So, I mean, the biggest challenge right now is that, you know, not a lot of people want to commit, because they're not sure if this is going to be a July thing or a July 2021 thing. I mean, you know, the biggest thing right now going on with events is, you know, pushing events to postpone instead of cancel. At least, you know, that helps out a lot of the people who put down deposits or things like that. But it's just the total unknown. It's just so much has been canceled. And I mean, even look at Major League Sports. You know, not that we are, you know, directly involved with them, but, you know, the biggest indicator. I mean, you know, there's no idea when baseball is going to come back, no idea when, you know, what the football situation is. So it's all up in the air right now. So that's the biggest challenge that businesses are facing with events, is just not knowing, you know, what the restrictions, when they're going to be lifted.
Say to some degree, I will agree with you. In other cases, I question it, because coming from an event planning perspective, you know, if you're looking at and you're keeping up with the news for this current situation, is July or June realistic? And if they are looking at us going back to somewhat of our norm by June, are you really ready to start planning events that early? So from my perspective as a planner who plans far in advance, you know, I say that it's beneficial to these candidates, or not candidates, clients, that you and I will potentially look at to plan in the future. So in my theory, my thoughts are, yes, plans fall at the earliest.
Great.
And anytime after that, I don't expect people to make a commitment for something for when we're expecting to go back into the office. That's not realistic. You literally cannot host an event in June and July. It's impossible. And the longer it takes us to get people back physically into their office, the more time we have to push it out. So at best, planning for next year is the best thing anyone can do. I don't care what the size of your event is. It will behoove you to not do that, because of my point again. You are standing at the risk of not having availability for your hotels and stuff. One of the speakers at the event that we did, one of the speakers was a hoteler. And he was saying that the challenges that he was facing in his presentation was his clients wanting their deposit back. And I was like, why? You can't miss something you don't have. If you don't already have the money, you've given it to the hotel, let them keep that money, because now all you need to do is reschedule your event for a year later. And that way you're locked in, because once you get back into that office, into the flow of things of working again, guess what? You're going to be reaching back to that hotel saying, hey, now I'm ready to get back into on the swing of things. And, you know, what's the availability? Where my boss is looking at February. How do we look for February? All sold out. What about March? All sold out. What about January? All sold out. What do you have available? We're looking at 2022. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2022. So you don't want to be in that situation, because guess what? There are some people, a handful of people, they're starting to realize it's time to be proactive, because the panic, the urge, or I won't say urge, but the intensity of people panicking, worrying, and freaking out is kind of dying down a little bit, and now survival mode is kicking in. And you know, people are trying to figure out, how do I keep things going? How do I stay afloat? And a lot of people are catching on that pivoting factor and surviving. Before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about what you do, your business, and you know what? Pronounce your last name for me, Al.
It's Schuster, Schuster.
I thought so. I wanted to make sure, because I don't like to butcher people's name. I don't mind if my name is butchered, but I don't want to butcher other people's name. And you own a company that's called Polaris Brand Promotion.
Polaris Brand Promotions, yes.
Polaris. Sorry. See, I butchered your company's name, but I made an effort not.
Okay, everyone does it.
All right, so tell me a little bit about your company, because you're all about branding, which is a great thing to have at a face-to-face live event for your clients' event needs.
All right, Polaris Brand Promotions is my agency. I'm the founder and president of it. We are a nationwide experiential and promotional staffing agency. Based right outside of Philadelphia. We serve primarily the alcoholic beverage industry through in-store tastings, but we also do promotions at trade shows, music festivals, concerts, sporting events. You know, we also do virtual reality, anything where our clients need to promote their product or consumer directly, product or service directly to the consumer.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I've been on your website. In fact, you and I are looking to work very closely together once we're able to get past this ban and start engaging, even if it is from a social distance and state restriction level. We want to get back to doing these face-to-face events. I think it's great that people are pivoting in a way of relying on technology a little bit more. With the virtual events, but there's nothing like being in person, you know?
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have some fun questions for you.
Okay.
All right, hold on a second. I put some questions together. Now, in the effort of getting to know you as the president and founder of your company, tell me a little bit about yourself first, and then I'll start popping out some of these questions that I came up with for you, okay? So give me a little bit about your background. How did you come about starting this business, and how long have you been in business for?
I've been in business since around 2016. I actually have an accounting and finance background, and up until about 11 months ago, I would say, I was a full-time accountant. How I got into this industry was I had someone I knew who owned a marketing agency, and they asked me to help them out part-time doing their their staffing for their promotions.
Right.
And I thought it was just going to be a simple matching up to people when the shifts came in, and it turned out to be recruiting, interviewing, hiring, training, kind of handling the whole process.
Right.
And I saw some things that I really wasn't happy with the way that the business was being run. And I decided, you know what, I see the value in this. I see it's a lucrative opportunity to get into. I kind of see some things like, making sure our team has alcohol training certification where it's important, or where it's necessary to have, because it is important. Some things that I thought, I can do this better, and I can take this from just a local agency to a nationwide one, by utilizing technology, making sure people have the proper training, and things like that.
Wow, that's awesome. That's absolutely remarkable. How's business been for you? You know, what was the start of your experience in launching this business been for you? Because you're what, 4 years in business, if I can do my math correctly.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
So, what was it like for you when you first started? Did you find it to be hard? Where was it easy for you because you were able to tap into existing resources and network? You know, how was that journey for you?
I mean, it was challenging, just like starting any business. The toughest part was, yes, getting the clients, especially when I was holding down a full-time job and still trying to market my business and, kind of juggling both. Because, obviously, if you want to turn your side hustle into a main hustle, you have to make that leap.
That
So, right. Eventually it came to the point where, I was starting to pick up more clients.
right.
And, obviously, like you said about doing the math, there was, there's a difference between 11 months ago and all that time before that when I was running the business. And I had someone, Samantha, who is our scheduling administrator. She came on board and she helped out with the staffing and confirming with the accounts. And she's still working with us still, and she does an awesome job. And with her help, we were growing the business. We picked up Lion's Head. We picked up some other regional clients throughout like the Philadelphia tri-state area. And, we started growing and, things are really on an uptick. We picked up new clients in Kentucky and Colorado up until the coronavirus hit. And then, everything just stopped. Like, I think March 14th was our last actual event, and just everything shut down. And, it's just a matter of, just keeping things going with those clients, keeping in communication, trying to talk to them about, other ways to market and just doing other things to keep us in their mind and get ready for when things do reopen.
Absolutely, and that's what we're doing too. So you mean to tell me you guys were still booked all the way up until the 15th with no cancellation after the virus broke out?
Up until March 15th, March 14th was our last actual in-store tasting event, which is pretty much what we do for our clients right now. We've been just consistently doing these in-store tastings, and that was it. I mean, March 14th was the last day, and kind of like after that, the week after was just like a domino effect of just everything stopped.
Just tumbling. Yeah, well, at least you were still moving around that time. A lot of this information was being received by so many different people and different tiers and stuff like that. I remember the first time I heard about it. My husband works for the federal government, and he was given heads up as early as in December. And I think it was a little bit of talk going around, but nothing enough for people to really pay close attention. Virus thing going